And I will say, I have never had more fun in my entire banking career as I'm having right now. And part of it is working for Happy State Bank and laughing and having fun, but also being able to put together an organization that represents the values that I hold dear to me. And that is family first, community, and my job. And the folks that we've associated with at the bank all feel the same way.
And welcome everyone to LoneStarVarsity.com. I'm Zach Long. That's George Watson. This is the Happy State Bank Football Fever, an inside look at high school football on the South Plains and surrounding area. And George, last week we get through what mostly considered the non-conference part of the schedule. Really in a district now, you know the identity of these teams, or at least we think we know the identity of these teams. And the one I want to hone in on right here is the New Deal Lions. These guys look like the real deal. Are they going to get touched in the regular season?
Yeah, real deal, no pun intended. I don't know if they'll get touched in the regular season. It seems like every year there's some games somewhere that they slip up. Whether it's been Tahoka one year, it's been Sundown one year. But after seeing these guys, I mean, they sit there for 2.5 quarters and really just kind of lollygag through against Slayton, and nothing against Slayton. Slayton's a good ball club, but then all of a sudden they just turned it on like that, and it was over. I mean, one drive, it was 14-12, and the game was over at that point. So they have the ability just to go out and mow through anybody they want to. The way that district is right now, the way New Deal is playing, the way everybody else is complimenting them, talking about putting them in the same compliment with Wellington, Stratford up here. I don't know if anybody's going to touch them in district. I don't know if anybody's going to touch them 2-3 rounds into the playoffs at this point. So, I mean, this may be the best New Deal team as long as they stay healthy. That's the big key, because they had this in 2010. As long as they stay healthy, I don't see anybody touching this New Deal team for a while.
And you and I are very well aware of that's what you have to do if you're going to compete in Texas. Yeah. Because you get into the playoffs, you're going to get into some brutally tough competition. So keeping that edge and going through an unscathed regular season, that's a huge momentum builder for the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, they're already sitting there 6-0, so they still really have their bye week coming up here in a couple weeks. So they're gonna have that bye week, I think, coming at the right time to kind of rest, refocus, get ready for that push run on into the rest of the district and on into the playoffs. So I think things are shaping up really well for New Deal to make a big push this year.
Onward to some other results from last week's action. Our performer of the week, George, kind of a bittersweet moment here for Robert Johnson.
Yeah, no kidding. Sitting with a couple of different other riders up there on Saturday against Melissa, and they were just amazed at seeing what Robert Johnson could do. I almost sat there wondering to myself, have I taken him for granted? Because I was like, yeah, that's just Robert Johnson. I've seen him do it before. 292 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, as much as Melissa threw the ball and Estacado struggled against that offense, Melissa had no answer for Robert Johnson defensively as well. So, yeah, another good year. He's already up to 1,250 yards, 15 touchdowns, one of the leaders in the state in 3A in rushing. Just a phenomenal year. And remember, he's just about a year removed from ACL surgery, so kind of putting together his own Adrian Peterson year this year.
And really the bright spot right now on an Estacado team that's going through some growing pains. They're struggling just a little bit.
Yeah, they are struggling, and I'll address this later on in the show. But yeah, there's they're going through some growing pains. They need some other people to step up. But now that district is here, I think you get some teams that they'll be able to handle a little bit better. They've played a tough non-district schedule with Abilene Wiley, with Hereford, with Melissa out there. So it's going to get them battle tested for district play.
George, our AJ Media Top 5, another stable week. All the teams stay put. When we look at those teams there, that 1 through 5, who might want to be on alert this week or in the next couple weeks who are going to be under danger of maybe losing a football game?
It's going to be interesting looking at those teams. All 5 stayed the same because all 5 had the byes this week, so they all kind of went through the same thing. They got rested, they got healthy. I don't know. It depends. The one I look at here it's not this week. It's next week. Estacado's at Shallowater next week.
Yep.
So you're going to have the battle between Jarek Black and Robert Johnson. That could be a potential upset. I don't know if it'll happen, at this point. But if Monterey gets some momentum off of this game against Hereford this week, they go up against Friendship next week. That could be a good game there.
That's always personal. That's always a rivalry. They do not want to lose to each other. So
exactly,
irregardless of their record, Friendship will have to watch. And Friendship has definitely lived dangerously out there so far this year.
Yeah, they're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. They play well at home. They just blow people out at home. They struggle on the road. They go to Lakeview this week. I don't think they'll struggle there.
They better not.
They better not. Yeah. But yeah, they're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team to kind of watch right now.
George, onward to our Happy State Bank Players of the Week. Another good week of performances. Let's look first at our female athlete of the week from Coronado Volleyball.
Yeah, Coronado Volleyball, Emily Ritchie, you're doing an outstanding job. Has kind of gotten Coronado back on the right track. She's had a 13-kill game, a 10-kill game, and a couple of big district wins. Even though they lost to San Angelo Central on Tuesday night, it appears that Coronado's got things turned around, and Emily Ritchie's a big reason why. One of the few seniors returning starters on that team. A new coach, a new situation. They've had a kind of a changeover since Chad Jones left, but it looks like with Emily kind of stabilizing things, they're getting things on the right track over there.
George, our male athlete of the week on one of those teams that will get their shot at the aforementioned New Deal Lions. How about Jason Garcia from Health Center?
Jason Garcia, an outstanding wide receiver from Health Center. 8 catches, 158 yards, 4 touchdowns in a back and forth win over Crosbyton on Friday. You mentioned it, right. Health Center is going to be one of those teams because the way they throw the football, the athletes they have on the outside, they're going to be a test for that New Deal for that New Deal team coming down the road. Jason Garcia is going to be a big reason why, because him and Lane Rossi have formed a really good pass-catching combo that's going to give a lot of teams fits down the road.
George, the LISD schools back in action this week after a little bit of a break, so that kind of inundates our pick 5 right now. Let's go ahead and get started first with the Coronado Mustangs. They visit Odessa.
Yeah, Coronado now kind of gets to that point of their schedule. They had the first 3 games were against Abilene Cooper, Midland Lee, and San Angelo Central. Those 3 teams are sitting there at the top of the standings right now. The 3 teams that probably everybody picked as the top 3 in the district. Now Coronado kind of gets to the teams that are more along its line. There's only one team on their schedule that has a winning record going forward. Coronado goes on the road to an Odessa team that's had some big wins. I think this is a winnable ball game, but being on the road, I think it's going to be a slip up for Coronado. It's going to be a close game. They could win. I'm going to go with Odessa in this one.
Next up, George, everyone's favorite Texas high school football mascot, the Giant Cow, makes its way down I-27 as Hereford visits Monterey.
Hereford, Monterey, yeah, you'll see the big cow. I'm not sure where they'll park it at the new Plains Capital Park.
Hopefully somewhere close.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone needs to enjoy that.
It'll be visible, that's for sure. But I don't know if it'll be snorting any smoke, just because I think Monterey is going to take this one. You got 2 0-5 teams that have kind of followed a similar path. Hereford, was 0-5 last year and turned it around in district. I think Monterey remembers that because they went up there with some high hopes and got beat. So I think Monterey's looking forward to returning the favor. I'm going to go with the Plainsmen in this one.
George, a big opportunity for Lubbock High. They visit Plainview.
Big opportunity, but we'll see how they operate with their 3rd quarterback in 6 games this year.
My goodness.
Jordan Hyde, who has been starting on JV for 2 years, now takes over on varsity with Corey Skubnik still out with his shoulder. James Garcia with a knee injury last week against Perryton. Look for some big plays down the field. Jordan Hyde's got a big arm, according to Coach Strunk. Maybe they take some shots down the field against Plainview. Plainview has played a lot of close games, but they've lost a lot of those close games. It's going to be a crapshoot. I'm going to go with Lubbock High. I think they're going to be ready for this one.
The next game we will be visiting in person. How about Idalou down the road to Brownfield?
Yeah, 2 teams I think that had higher expectations than them being where they are right now. And you say that Idalou sitting there at 3-2. We've gotten used to Idalou being 4-1, 5-0 at this point. And Brownfield, started off like a house on fire, but they've cooled off the last 3 weeks. So I think it's 2 teams that are really kind of searching to get that mojo back. You've got some outstanding athletes at Brownfield, some outstanding athletes at Idalou. I just think the tradition and the way Idalou operates, I'm going to go with the Wildcats here.
That ought to be an interesting one to watch. 2 teams that haven't met a lot in the past.
Yep.
That'll be a fun one.
Yep.
Have fun picking this next one, George. How about Roosevelt at Post?
Yeah, Roosevelt at Post. Here you go, Roosevelt. Here's your chance. You want to prove to me that this is a different team, that this is a different year. Here you go. Go on the road, over to Post, just right down the road, and get you a victory. If you can do that, then I think things will start to turn around for you. At the same time, you're going into a place where at Post where they're going to be coming off a little bit of a mad. They're still stinging from their loss a couple weeks ago, and I think they're going to be ready for this one. I think the ground game at Post controls and keeps the ball away from Roosevelt's high-powered passing game. I'm going to go with the Antelopes on this one, but I think it'll be close.
Yeah, that will be one heck of a contrast in styles.
Exactly.
When you get that good ground game for the Post Antelopes against
Post,
the high-flying spread attack from Roosevelt.
Yeah, Post scores in 6 minutes. Roosevelt scores in a minute and a half. So.
And usually what's the lesson that we learn? That ground game will sometimes get the edge because they can control the clock.
Exactly.
Onward now to our Happy State Bank game of the week, George. How about Levelland visiting Estacado?
Well, I said I was going to get to this earlier. I talked about Roosevelt. Estacado, I'm going to call you out a little bit as well, because here's the deal. I've seen Robert Johnson now for 2 games. I've seen him carry the ball all over the field. I've seen him do what he does. Now it's time for somebody else on that team to step up. Jalen Tennyson, time for you as a quarterback to step up. I heard good things about you at the beginning of the season. You've struggled. I want to see a good game out of you. I want to see a good game out of the defense as well. You guys have struggled the last couple of weeks. I want to see some things out of you, because if you're going to be the team that Coach Cervantz thinks you can be, here it is. Here's the time to start. You get a good Levelland team. It's going to be a good test for you. It's going to be at home. I'm going to go with you this time, Estacado. I'm going to pick you in this one, but I'm going to be watching. I'm going to see some other people step up and make some plays and give Robert Johnson some help out there.
And you putting them on call is really not that dramatic of a step, George.
Yeah.
Levelland isn't the same old Levelland. That team has gotten much better, and the last thing in the world Estacado wants to do is have them come in here and beat them on their home field. That would be one of those losses that could really lead to some, what would you say, the house of cards falling sideways.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, is this district. I mean, you've got Shallowater sitting there at 5-0. You got Cooper and Levelland sitting there at 4-1. Estacado sitting there at 2-3. Andrews is sitting there at 2-3. Those 5 teams right there all believe right now that they are playoff football teams. Even Seminole down there is sitting there thinking they're entertaining playoff thoughts. So, there is not a game in this district that you can afford to take off, and this is going to be a crucial one, especially with Estacado going to Shallowater next week. They can ill afford to start with 1 loss and then go to Shallowater and maybe take 2 losses. This is a key game for both teams.
And, of course, you can catch that game on Friday night in Lubbock. We'll be out there. And as we mentioned earlier, we'll also journey down the road to Brownfield to watch Brownfield take on Idalou. Yep. And we'll have some other good games around the area wrapped up, of course, over at LoneStarVarsity.com and LubbockOnline.com for full coverage of high school football on the South Plains. Until Friday night, we will see you at that point. For George Watson, I'm Zach Long. We'll see you next time.